Hello and welcome to October 2021. This is possibly my most favorite month of the year, partly because it's fall, my favorite season, but also because so many beautiful things have happened to me in the month of October, even bad things that ended up being the stepping stones to glory. Specifically, I want to speak to you about marriage because this is my marriage month. Chris and I married October 27, 2013. It's also the month that my one and only biological child and favorite human, Grayson, married my daughter-in-love Faith, October 9th, 2021. And so what a great month this is. Many of you share this anniversary month. Many of you have birthdays this month. It's a great and glorious time as weather is pretty perfect around the nation. And so I'm going to speak about marriage because this is the theme for the month. And I want to, before I want to get into that, I want to remind you about who I am and who I hope to be for you and who I have been for many of you as you express gratitude that I continue to do what I do, which is share information with you. I always tell you, I do not have your specific answer, but I do have a formula that will help you get at an answer. I do know how to help you think through what do you know, what do you need to learn, how do you feel, and what are some possible actions you can take, and what are some that you might want to change. And then how do you feel about your God and who is your God? Where do you get your beliefs? Where do you get your standards? Because it is your belief system that is the bulk of who you are emotionally and intellectually. It is your belief system that guides everything else about you. It is these three things, your IQ, your EQ, and your GQ, which determines your overall level of happiness, the height of your happiness quotient. And so as you increase your efficacy within any of these areas, you're increasing your overall happiness. And for most of y'all, when I ask, what do you really want in life? Whatever you're discussing with me, whether you're discussing your finances, whether you're discussing your relationship, whether you're discussing your walk with God, whether you're discussing your career, because again, as a coach, I have a lot of these discussions with you and trying to help you understand what do you really want? And inevitably, one of the most common responses, I just want to be happy. It's this generic term that we use that kind of implies I just want to be at peace and know what I'm doing and feel good. It's not even an a dollar value thing. It's not even a weight, numbers on the scale thing. It's just I want to feel like I'm doing it right, doing it well, doing it excellently. And so that's what this is about. The happiness formula is not me knowing specifically for you, this is what you should do, but it is a formula to get at how can you increase your overall happiness. And as such, I share a lot of resources because what it's going to take to increase your efficacy in terms of what you know, what you need to learn, is you got to start reading. You got to start listening to experts. What it's going to take to increase your efficacy about how you emotionally respond to the world rather than react, is you're going to have to start reading. You're going to have to start dialoguing. You're going to have to start engaging some activities that kind of push you out of that comfort zone. What's it going to take to confirm what you believe? What's it going to take for you to really know what it is through which you filter who you are, what you do, your God system, your God quotient. And that's going to take you doing some reading, doing some things, not stop some behaviors that again affect your ability to sort of explore that relationship with your God. So along those lines, when it comes to marriage, lots of resources. On free resources and some that are not free on my website and some other not free resources I'll talk about. But on my website, the Kasandravitacca.com, again, you guys, hopefully you know how to spell my name at this point, Kasandravitacca.com. There's a tab called resources. Underneath resources, there's a bookstore. There are books for along the realm of success. There are in career. There are books along the realm of economics, so your wealth and your finances. There are books about your relationships and specifically some about dating. They're good. Dating book is good to read even if you're married because you should still be dating your spouse. And there's some other books in there. So those are books. You got to buy them, right? I don't have any connection to the books. I don't get any commissions from the books. These are just good books that I have read along the way that I tend to recommend a lot. So there are books there, but specifically with regard to marriage, there's about 3 books there. That's all. I've got lots more. I just haven't uploaded them. But books for your marriage. There are other resources there underneath that resources tab. There are webinars. again, webinars about there's, again, for those of you that are just going to refuse to read this almost 300-page book, there are 4 videos, about half an hour each, about the happiness formula. So at least if you can incorporate the thought processes, it can start moving you in the right direction. You got to pay for those. There are webinars. There is a webinar called Sex. With professionally licensed counselor Kip Watson, we discussed sex, because the 2 reasons people cite for not having success in marriage is romance and finance. It's your sex life, it's your financial life, it's your money. If I can help you dialogue through these things, I was a personal economic advisor for about 12 years, an independent advisor for people. So I know a lot about how to help you think about your money, but in the end, you still have to execute accordingly, correct? So there's that webinar about sex in particular, but again, there are other webinars about sort of economics and finances and happiness and success, and all of those add to the conditioning of your mind. The more, your brain's a muscle. So as you train your brain muscle, to take in the right information, then you start to have responses to the world, responses to your spouse that are more effective for your marriage. So you have the resources with the bookstore, you have the resources with your webinars. You also have a resource that I promote constantly. It's a ministry that I support, not just because I attend their seminars, but because I financially give to them and then I promote them constantly, which is the Family Life Weekend to Remember, WTR, and Family Life Love Like You Mean It Marriage Cruise. The Weekend to Remembers are all over the nation all the time. You can go on to you can type in Weekend to Remember, you can type in Family Life Weekend to Remember, and you'll get to, these are just quick 2-day. I encourage you, don't stay at your home, go out of town. You can even do it locally, do a staycation. My husband and I in November are going to South Padre Island to the November Weekend to Remember weekend, just because we need a little weekend together, because it's a good reminder. We've already been to a WTR. That's how we got introduced to this whole ministry. And it was because of that Weekend to Remember that then we signed up for the week-long Love Like You Mean It Marriage Cruise, which occurs annually in the month of February. There are still slots open. My husband and I will be on that cruise in 2022. We actually gifted my son Grayson and his wife Faith a weekend cruise for their wedding gift. So they won't be able to make it with us on the 2022 cruise, but hopefully the 2023 cruise. That is a week-long marriage cruise. It is all married couples. Yes, these are Christian ministries. We're coming from Christian God biblical principles. But some people aren't believers. Some people are on the verge of divorce. I mean, this is a cruise for people who are committed to their covenant, their union, and they are open to the principles of what God has to say about marriage. So, with those resources being available listed to you, let me tell you now very quickly, I've already spoken for almost 10 minutes about all the resources, very quickly about what I want to say about marriage. And I was reminded of this as I watched my family came together and we put together a home wedding. The ceremony was right outside my home. The reception was just down the street in my neighborhood clubhouse. It was phenomenal. And it gave me a lot of time to reflect about marriage and what it means. And I got a chance to, interact with my father and my bonus mom die, and then reflect upon the fact that my parents haven't been married for 50 years. I was about 1 year old when they divorced. I got a chance to interact with my son's biological father, Matt, and Grayson's bonus mom, Teresa, and got a chance to sort of reconnect with them, which has been many years in the making, given we didn't really have the best of a relationship and didn't really talk outside of what we had to. And so I got a chance to sort of reflect on the beauty of their marriage, and they're now grandparents. I got a chance to think about my brother Anthony and his wife, my sister-in-love, Tuyette, who've been married for 25, 27 years, some number of years they've been together, and just the beauty of their covenant and sort of what that has meant. I was able to then listen to the Stellings faith family, all of whom, got married young and stayed married. They're a family that gets married and stays married. There's a lot of sort of broken marriages on my side, family line. And so with that being said, I got a chance to think about that, right? Sort of what marriage is and what does God say about it? And indeed, undeniably, unequivocally, God loves marriage. The very first institution, the very first human relational truth that God put together after creating male and female, he put together marriage. He brought male and female together in union. And in that union, created them as one, echad. They are so intertwined, they really can't be torn apart. And we humans tear these marriages apart all the time. We live in a culture that now acts as if divorce is an option if it doesn't work out. In fact, we don't even get married anymore. We just hook up with each other and we shack up, and we never actually walk down an aisle and declare in front of family and friends and God our commitment to be one in front of God. And so I want to encourage those of you who are not married and living together, why won't you get married? What is keeping you from creating a covenantal bond, inviting family and friends together in a matrimony that says we are together and we will not forever be torn apart? What's keeping you from doing that? Especially if you've been living together and playing marriage all these years. Declare it covenantally. There's a spiritual reality to that. There's a spiritual connection that you cannot understand until you do it. For those of you who are anti-marriage, those of you who think, I don't want to give up my money and my time and my freedom, I'll be straight up. You are one of the most selfish human beings I have ever met. Long before I was a follower of Yeshua, long before I even myself wanted to get married, I understood the sickening selfishness of wanting to be single forever, because I wasn't motivated in being single so that I could therefore be of service to other people. There are those of you who have the gift of singleness. It's a gift of God and a burden, and you are of service to other people. Your majority of your time is directed towards serving other people. I used to call it like a secular nun and a secular priest, right? You may not be in the vocation of ministry, but you give of yourself in ways. I've met quite a few of you, and you're beautiful humans, and you are serving the Lord beautifully. Way more of you, though, are just selfish. You're just incredibly selfish, immature, not yet adults, and barely even human, because you do not rise to your excellence until you bond with another person, and you bring everything of yourself into the light of and expose yourself to another human being. You will never be pushed harder. You will never be pushed to the edge. You will never be asked to confront yourself more than in a marriage. And that's why it's so ridiculously hard, right? It is so ridiculously hard. And therefore, that's why it's so ridiculously, outrageously, and I'll probably cry because you guys know me, it's amazing. Marriage is amazing in terms of the results when you work this blasted hard. So those of you that are married who have been doing this, maybe you're at a point where you're like, Kasandra, I'm not experiencing any of the glory. I'm just experiencing all the hard. Dig in all the deeper, folks. Go seek out some of these resources. Go on a weekend to remember. I have a discount code you can use when you go to a WTR weekend to remember. You can use Romans 12:10. It'll get you about $100 off the few $100 registration, and actually they're discounting things quite a bit right now. Maybe you can even get it for free if you're in some real financial hardship. You have to pay for your hotel and whatnot, but you can get some help to get to that. Those of you that are able to go on that week-long Love Like You Mean It marriage cruise, it is mind-blowing. And even if all that is economically prohibitive or just time-wise prohibitive, folks, get some books and read. Listen to some of the webinars I have. Marriage is a beautiful, glorious, amazing, God-given institution between a male and a female as they come together in declared public covenant in front of family and friends and God and say, we are going to do this together, and we are inviting the community to support us. I support you. I am behind your marriage. I am on the battlefield with sword in hand and shield in my arm, with my helmet and belt of truth strapped around me, with feet readied to bring the word of God into your marriage. This is what I love to do. I love to encourage marriages. I love marriage because it's so freaking hard. And I know we need encouragement. So let's encourage one another. It is a great month. The month of October is my favorite month. I pray that if those of you that have great marriages, tell the world about it. Post your date night pictures. Post when your spouse gives you a goofy flower they picked on the road, and maybe it's an actual weed and they didn't know it because it was so pretty, right? Tell us the things that you do that are special for the two of you. Encourage us. Do not denigrate the God-given institution of marriage. Tell us when it's hard and how you're working through it. We need to bring back the glory of God in a world that does not value God. And one of the ways that we can do it, folks, is to honor the covenant of marriage between male and female, and to bond in front of our friends, in front of our family, in front of God. I pray these words have been encouraging. I pray these resources are helpful. You know that I love you in the name of Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, Adonai Eloheinu. I pray for you mighty blessings, mighty peace, mighty strength and conviction as you move forward today and every day. Shalom.